Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Sipiwo. For all you first time comers in this channel, we cover everything from HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Today we'll be taking a look at creating a simple color generator. So if you click this button, it will generate random colors, which you can just copy over here and use in your CSS. So with no longer ado, let's get into this tutorial. So what we're going to do, guys, is that we're going to create out my HTML. Let's create out my HTML markup. As I've said in my previous tutorial, I'm using Visual Studio Code, which allows me just to do this boilerplates quickly. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, I do encourage you to go ahead and subscribe. Click the bell notification so that you get notified the next time I publish a new tutorial. I don't want you guys to miss out. Okay, so back into this one. So I'm just going to call this title color HTML generator, and I'm going to link to let's link to Font Awesome. So because I know I'm going to use an icon, which is that icon over there. And the next one I also want to link to is Bootstrap, but I'm just going to link to the CSS of the Bootstrap. Sorry for that. Let's go ahead and say Bootstrap $4, which is going to generate the entire boilerplate, which I don't want. The only thing I want is just that CSS over there. Let's quickly check. So my CSS is there. I'm going to remove all of this, and I'm going to remove all of this because I don't need that. And the only thing I want is just the CSS over here, and I am going to create some custom CSS as well just to style this a bit. But for now, let's go ahead and just use the style tags to remind us that we're going to be creating some CSS in it. In my body section, what I'm going to do is I have a class that I already set up, which is main. That's the class I'm going to use to style my body tag, and then I'm going to create a div with a class called color-generator. And then inside this div, I'm going to have another div which I'm just going to call copy-container. I'm going to hit enter with those two divs. So with Emmet allows you to create HTML elements by just specifying the classes, as you guys have seen right now. So this is going to be a quick one. I'm going to use an input. My input type is going to be text, and I'm just going to add a class to it, which is going to be a Bootstrap class, which I called form controller, a form control, which is the Bootstrap class that I'm going to use. And I'm going to add an ID in here because I want to use this with JavaScript. Let's say copy_hex. That's going to be my ID. And the next thing I'm going to do now is generate this icon over here, which I can go ahead and say font awesome -undo, which is this icon. It's actually an undo icon, which I'm actually using just to generate a new color. And then I'm going to add an on-click function to this, and then my function, I'm just going to call it change color. This is a function I'm going to create in a sec in JavaScript. So if we save this quickly and we run it, let's quickly see how ugly it looks. And this is what we have. There's my input and there is my icon. So let's go ahead and style this up a bit. So in my styling, I'm going to start off with just setting my variable that I'm going to use in my root, because this is the variable I'm going to use for my colors, and this is the variable I'm going to manipulate using JavaScript. So I'm going to just call it let's say dynamic color. I'm going to set a default color to it to be white. And then the next thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to reset everything. Let me say box sizing is my border box. I'm gonna say my margin, it's gonna be 0, and my padding, it's gonna be 0. And then I'm gonna go ahead and style my main class, which I have in my body tag. I'm gonna just say main, which is actually unnecessary, this class, because I could have just called the body, but I like using classes. I'm gonna say display flex, align item center, justify content center. I'm going to give it a min height. My min height is going to be 100 VH because I want it to fill the entire screen. And then I'm going to give it the background color. My background color is going to be dynamic color, which is this variable over here. So whatever this variable is going to be, that's going to be my background color on my main. And then secondly, I'm just gonna style my copy, this one over here, my copy container. So my copy container is gonna be dot copy dash container, and I'm gonna go ahead and also say display flex. The reason I'm doing display flex because I want this icon and this input next to each other. That's why it's display flex. And I'm just gonna do a shadow. Let's do a box shadow, which is gonna be 0, 5 pixels, 12 pixels, RGBA for transparency, and 0.4 because I want it to be more but on the darker side so that I can see the shadow. And my next styling is going to be my icon. I want to style my icon, so I can just say dot for my font awesome icon. I'm going to give it a padding, and my padding is going to be 8 pixels and 25 pixels. So 8 pixels top and bottom and 25 pixels left and right. And I'm going to give it a background color. As I've said, I want the background color to be the same as the generated color, so that's going to be my background color. I'm going to give it a border radius, sorry about that, let's say border dash radius, and my border radius is going to be 5 pixels. And I'm going to give it a margin left. So my margin left, I'm going to show you guys now why I have a margin left of minus 45 pixels, because I want it to be on top of the input. Okay, not next to it, but on top of the input. And I'm just going to go with a border and give it a border of 1 pixel solid, and the color of the pixel is just going to be EF, color of that border. And then the color of my icon, I want it to be white. Okay, so it doesn't matter what my background color is of my icon, I always want my icon to be white. And that is it for the CSS. Let's quickly save this. So if we save it, then you guys will see, let me quickly just change this background to say 333, which is a darker color. If we do that, now you guys can see the background is set, and also the icon background is also set. The only thing that I also wanted to do here is to disable the input. The reason I want to disable the input, I don't want you to be able to type it, but you must just view it. That's why the input is there, to view it and copy it. So I'm just gonna say disabled and save it. So you guys see I can't type anything there because it is disabled. So if I hard refresh, it's just gonna take away that input that I type in there, but now I can't type anything. Okay, so let's head on over to the JavaScript, which is the fun part of this tutorial. I think the JavaScript is always the fun part of every tutorial. So I'm just going to say script, as I'm going to do everything in this HTML. For you guys who don't know, this is all a part of my 10 tutorials that I want to do within this month. So I'm going to keep it to relevantly small tutorials that you guys can just follow along, and I hope that you learn something. If you have a tutorial in mind that you would like me to tackle or you'd like me to do for you, so that you can learn something, definitely let me know, and I will go ahead and see if I can create a video on the tutorial. So back to this function over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a variable which is going to be my random numbers. So it's going to be my random numbers. So my random numbers, I'm going to use a function called math.floor. Okay, so what math.floor does is it returns the less or the equal to integer. So for instance, I'm just going to show you guys quickly. If I pass through an integer called 5.67 or 68, you would assume that it will return 6 on this, but it always returns the less one, so the one below it. So this one is closer to 6, but then it will return 5 on this. But if we pass in through 5, it will just return the 5 because it's the equal value. There's no decimal values to it. Okay, that was the floor one does. And I'm just going to create a math also dot random. And as the name says it, it generates a random number. And I'm going to time this with 61777. 215. And the reason why I'm using this number is that when this number is converted to a string, it gives you FFFF, which is pure white. So any number more than this will give you a hexadecimal value, which is not a color string, so it won't generate a color because it's number more than this. This is going to be pure white. If the random value should ever end up being like this, it will be a pure white. Okay, hope you guys understand that. Hit me up in the comments if you like me to do a tutorial where I actually break down that function and show you exactly what I mean. Okay, so hexamal value, my hexamal value is just going to be my random numbers dot to string. Okay, dot to string, and if you pass in a regex value over here of 16, so 16 will be, say, okay, return to me the hexamal values of whatever string has been passed to here. That's what the 16 does. After this, the other thing that I want to do is just change this variable's value. I want to change this variable value. That I can do by going in and say document dot can say document dot document element dot style dot set property. Okay, and the property I want to set is dash dash dynamic color, and I want to set it to, I'm going to use backticks on this one because I'm going to use string. So I can say I'm going to set it to a hashtag, and I'm going to use my $sign to say, okay, this is going to be JavaScript or a variable of some sort, and I'm going to call it a hexamal. So what I'm doing is I'm doing a color, if you can put it there. I'm doing the hashtag, and I'm passing through the string representation of whatever random number was generated over here. Okay, and I'm setting that there. I hope you guys do understand, and I'm going to display this by going ahead and say document dot query selector, and my query selector is going to be my input, which is this guy's ID. So I can just go ahead and say quotations hashtag that ID, and I'm going to say its value, it's going to be equal to the same thing. So I'm going to use backticks because I want to use a string. So I'm going to say the color space $sign. I'm going to do this. I can say hashtag before that, $sign hexamal, and I think that's it. The only thing now I need to do is just call this function on load, and I can do that by just saying change colon. I'm calling that function over there. Let's click on save, and as you guys can see, it went ahead and it changed the background colors. If I click on this button, there we go. So this is a small tutorial, guys, on how you can do a color generator. I hope you guys like this tutorial. Please do subscribe to my channel, like these videos, and hit the bell notification so you get notified the next time I release another tutorial. Until next time, guys, stay safe.